Okay, I'm sure we'll have a few more people jumping on here, but why don't we go ahead and get started? Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar, The Strength of the Cloud for Managing Inventory. This is the third in our series of GP to BC, and we look forward to delving deeper into the combination of ERP and inventory management. My name is Ashley Rupp, and I will help facilitate our webinar today. Before we get started, here are a few tips on using the Zoom platform so that we can engage with you and our presenters to have the best experience possible. So for this, you should see a Zoom toolbar with icons for ask a question, chat, or raise your hand. If you need to ask a question or chat, submit in the comment. If you need any assistance, click on raise your hand button and I will be happy to help you out. We do encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation and we will do our best to answer them all at the end. If we didn't answer your question, we will follow up with you personally following the presentation. If you experience any audio issues, you can access your audio settings and test your audio when you are already in a meeting. At the bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom meeting toolbar, you'll either find a headphone or microphone logo to join audio or mute, unmute, respectively. To join audio, connect your computer or dial in the meeting with a phone. Once your audio is connected, click mute to disable the audio or unmute to enable your audio. Within 42 hours of your webinar, you'll receive a link to download the slide deck with our presentation. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our presenters, Steve Chapman, who's a solution architect in our Dynamics practice, who brings more than 20 years of progressive experience, marketing, selling, demonstrating, and supporting mid-range business management systems. His background includes 20 years experience in accounting, finance with small and large consumer good, hospitality, construction, and medical device companies. Our second presenter is Teresa Brown, a partner here at Armanino within our consulting practice, where she focuses on finding comprehensive solutions to a broad spectrum of challenges clients face around people, process, and technology. She has led the firm's Microsoft Dynamics GP practice for 9 years and brings her experience on the webinar today. And I think that wraps up our questions for the presentation today. Thank you. And we look forward to having Steve and Teresa present today. Take it away.
All right, thanks so much. Yeah, we're pretty excited to, this is our third in a series of many webinars that we have had and will continue to have on the Business Central platform. Today, we're going to be exploring a topic that is near and dear to probably many people's hearts, which is monitoring your supply chain. So we're going to delve in deeper to how Dynamics BC can help you in a variety of different ways as it relates to your supply chain, from monitoring sort of where your inventory is at any point in time, improving connectivity to business partners that may be internal or external to the organization, operational insights through some Power BI dashboards, so some pretty powerful ways that you can access information both within the Dynamics BC solution, as well as combining that data with other solutions. And then pretty exciting stuff around warehouse management and ERP in one solution, which traditionally companies have purchased multiple solutions to fill that need, one for warehouse management, one for their ERP. So we're going to dig in a little deeper and understand how warehouse management and ERP can be combined, having a single source of the truth. So as we look at Microsoft Dynamics BC or Business Central here is the sort of, we call that the engine that runs the organization's finance, et cetera. What we're going to drill in deeper to, you can see at the top two circles there are financial management and project management. We're really going to focus on the bottom four today. So how you can improve your processes around sales, around operations management, around your supply chain, and how reporting and analytics can pull that all together, again, with an eye on using the Power BI tools to enable access to that information. So I think I'm going to turn this over now to Steve Chapman, who's going to give us a deeper look at all of the different capabilities that we have across the Business Central platform.
Thank you, Teresa, and hello, everyone. You're looking at the screen, you're probably wondering, reporting solutions. I thought this was about inventory. But what we're finding out is that a lot of clients use the reporting solutions to gain access to what's happening with their inventory and in their general operations, greater operations. What you see on the screen is there's basically 4 solutions here. Let's walk through each one of them. Account schedules is part of Business Central. It's the important part of the reporting tool within Business Central, and it's basically a financial reporting tool, but with the power of dimensions that you can set up in Business Central and use to post transactions and get that information out. Account schedules really allows you to look at your operations on a much broader standpoint. And then the next 2, Solver and Workday, have traditionally been financial reporting tools and planning tools. But what we're seeing also here in this area is that clients are using them to report and manage operational activities as well, including inventory, including sales. The types of things that you can do with these products are pretty amazing. Not only the financial part, but you can look at your individual items. You can look at putting together a forecast or a budget based on which items you're selling, into which markets, to which customers, to which regions of the world. So it really allows you to put together a pretty comprehensive budget and then track against that as you go forward in the new year or the new 5-year period that you're looking at. And then Power BI is a reporting tool from Microsoft, and we're seeing it used more and more, not only for some financial reporting, but typically for operational reporting, because the ability to quickly put together dashboards gives people insights to what's happening in their business. And it's a really pretty well-used tool. It's easy to use, and there's a lot of variability that you can use to get the dashboards exactly the way that you want to. And we'll look at a couple examples a little later in this webinar. Within Business Central itself, there's a number of ways that Business Central surfaces data about what's happening in your business. You can see what's happening with your business partners. You can see what's happening with your internal inventory, how your sales orders are going, how your purchase orders are going. And there's a couple of ways that Business Central makes this easy. First of all, every person that logs into Business Central logs in with a user role. There are standard user roles that are available in the system, but you can also modify those roles. And what a role does is it kind of directs the user to areas within Business Central that are important to them. And in this case, when I log in, I get a role center. A role center has information about what's happening in my business at the time, in real time. It allows me to drill down and get more information on what's happening. It also allows me to easily create transactions or modify existing transactions. So the point is, I log into Business Central, I see my role center, I see what's happening. If I see something that piques my interest or something's off, I can drill down into that, get more information. If I need to make a change, I can do it right there. I don't have to go into another system. I don't have to even go into another screen and go do it right from the role center, drill down and get things done. So here's a good example. This is an inventory manager's role center. So when they log in, they're going to see this information about what's happening right now in their business. And these role centers are based on the role. So here you see, from an inventory manager standpoint, you see activities. I've got outbound activities, inbound, then internally what's happening. And what we're seeing here, these are tiles, and the tiles are not only surfacing information. You can see that I've got released sales today, right? But what I can do is then I can drill down on that. If I click on that, I'm going to get a list of all those transactions that are creating that summary amount. And then from there, I can drill down further and get more information. For example, on a sales order, I can look at the sales order, I can look at the sales line. I can then look at the inventory availability for those particular sales lines. And if I need to do something related to that specific order or that specific line, I can do it right there. I can reserve an item, for example. I can change the quantity on that item if I have access to that functionality, and I can move that sales order along. Maybe I want to move it to a new location to be fulfilled from, or maybe I need to change the status, or maybe I need to contact the customer. I can do that directly from within Business Central. I can send an email out to the customer saying, hey, things have changed. We're going to change the shipping date, for example, on this particular one. I can do that right from within Business Central. And the role centers allow me to drill down and get that information. So this is another role center. This is the purchasing manager role center. So on the left-hand side, you get the same tiles that we just talked about. But if I drill down on one of those tiles, I'll get a list of transactions that are making that up. And in this case, these are purchase orders. So I've got purchase orders in Business Central, nothing unusual about that. But what we find with Business Central is it tracks a lot of information about purchase orders. It tracks dates, a lot of dates of when the order was placed, when it was due, when it was maybe adjusted, maybe there's an expected ship date. All that information's in the purchase order. And then I can use the functionality of Business Central to take that list of purchase orders and I can filter it. On the left-hand side, you see a list of views. These are all filters that were created to look at different statuses of purchase orders in Business Central. So any user can create their own view, and it's easy to do. I can do a filter based on almost any field that's in the transaction. And here you can see at the bottom, there's a filter list. It's by document type, there's an order, and then a status, an order, and that's a particular view. And I can save those views and go back to them anytime I want to and look at all the items that make up that particular view or that particular filter. And here you can see I've got a number of different ones: pending confirmations, partially delivered, the sender confirm. And the point of showing this to you is not only, well, it's easy to do and people can do it, but Business Central is keeping track of that information and allows you to make use of it when you're communicating internally and also with your customers or your vendors. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So next, I want to talk about communication with your business partners. These are your vendors, your customers, and also new customers that might come to a website, for example. There's a number of ways that you can communicate with your business partners from within Business Central. We'll take a look at popular e-commerce platforms that can connect directly to Business Central. Also, Business Central is easily connected to external websites. And then in inventory, and if you're in a distribution setting or you have a large relationship with a large supplier, say a medical supplier, you may want to use EDI to take that information, bring it into your Business Central system and communicate through EDI. So you can do all of this within Business Central. What's nice about Business Central is because it's a cloud solution, it's easy to connect to. So if you have an external software that needs to connect to it, maybe it's a business partner has a system that they want to connect to your system in a limited way, it's easy to do that. So before, when you had to have your ERP system on premise in your location, there are a lot of hoops to go through to get that interconnectivity to make life a little easier. With Business Central, it's on Azure. It's maintained by Microsoft. It's incredibly secure, but it's easy to get the right people to connect to your business if you want to. In the next few slides, we'll look at some standard ways to do that within Business Central. when we talk to clients, a lot of them are already doing business on an e-commerce platform like Amazon or Shopify. And their big problem is, how do I get that information into my ERP system? How do I communicate back to Amazon, for example, to make sure that the customer knows what's going on with their order? Well, what we've seen is the development of some software that connects basically Amazon to Business Central. And it makes it easy to get the orders from Amazon down into Business Central. It makes it easy to send items back up to Amazon, for example. And we'll look specifically at a specific example of that. But this connectivity that is made easier because Business Central is a cloud solution opens up a lot of avenues for connecting to other systems that are widely used. If you're selling to a consumer group, a retail group, I mean, you have to sell on Amazon. That's where everyone's going to buy things, or Shopify. And for a lot of businesses, that's kind of a new thing for them. Well, Business Central makes it easier to communicate with these e-commerce platforms and get the information they need to process orders, and also get the information back to the e-platform business to communicate with the customer. So let's look at the next slide, which talks about Amazon. So Amazon is gigantic, right? They place orders all throughout the day, hundreds and hundreds a minute probably. And we have a lot of clients that sell their items in a number of ways. One is on Amazon. But Amazon, because of the volume and because it's a huge, gigantic corporation, it can be hard to deal with. So Amazon requires sellers to act in a certain way, to communicate in a certain way. So using an intermediate party, a standard intermediate party between Business Central and Amazon, takes away a lot of the uncertainty, and also makes sure that your relationship with Amazon works properly and in a timely manner. And for example, if with the Amazon connector, whether you're selling orders that are fulfilled by Amazon, FBA, or fulfilled by the merchant, by you, you can track those types of orders in Business Central based on information from Amazon. And the Amazon particular connection here also reconciles the fees and the payments into your Business Central system. And it eases the way in which you get orders into your system, and then you can process them. So if it's fulfilled by merchant, you get the orders from Amazon, it comes into Business Central, then you manage the order in Business Central, and then when you ship it, you'll ship it through Business Central, and then you can communicate back to Amazon so they can communicate with their customers saying, hey, this thing was shipped. This is how it was shipped. This is when it's expected to arrive at your location. So it makes that whole relationship with these large e-commerce companies a lot easier to do. Let's go to the next one here. Magento is basically a website, and I see Magento a lot. People have created their e-commerce websites with Magento. It's basically a website package. And the issue then is, well, how do I connect this to my ERP system? Well, with Business Central, there's an existing connection that you can use. And it's similar to the one that I would use for Amazon. But Magento's going to be a little different because everyone's site is a little different, right? I use Magento. It's a development tool to create a website. It's a popular development tool, and it creates really nice looking websites. So a lot of people use it. But with the standard connection into Business Central, I can retrieve orders. I can process them within Business Central, and then communicate back out through the Magento website to let my customers know that, hey, I got your order and I'm shipping it, and I'm expecting to ship it on this day, which means that you should receive it on this day. I can also receive payments through Magento and process those in Business Central. And an important thing too is and we'll look at this in the next slide as well, is that Business Central has the ability from an inventory standpoint to contain a lot of information about products. In the inventory listing in Business Central, I can have information, I can have images, I can have a lot of description in there. I can also set up different attributes. I can have different attributes based on, say, size or color or season. I can include all of that in Business Central. And then with these connectors to the websites, I can push that information up to the website, right? It'll be done in real time. And I don't have to maintain basically two sets of information, one in my ERP system and one in my website. These connectors have been well developed. They're standard connectors, and it'll send the information between the two systems. So let's go to the next one here. And the third option here is a lot of people just have their own website. Who knows how they created it? They just did. And there's connections that you can use to connect to those websites. And again, because Business Central is a cloud solution, it's easier to connect. I can get the orders in, I can manage them in Business Central, and then I just push the information back to the website that I want to, whether it's product information or customer related information. From the customer standpoint, what they see in my business is what's on the website. Business Central solidly supports that information in your ERP system that you have access to, and you can make changes, whether it's pricing or attributes about the item. You can send that back up to the website, get the customer information in, you can calculate sales tax, collect payments. So there's a number of ways to communicate with some of these external systems, and there's existing connections for a lot of them. And you really want to take advantage of that because they've been tested in a number of different scenarios, and there's a lot of flexibility in how they're configured to work with your Business Central system and your website. So let's look at another common means of communicating with business partners, and that's through EDI. So what we're seeing is EDI, there's a lot of trading partners. They're typically large companies, and they're requiring their smaller distributors to start using EDI. And this has been going on for years, right? People have been required to use EDI, and typically what someone will do, a smaller business, they'll have like a web application that the customer, the large customer, let's say it's Target, wants them to use to enter the EDI information. And they can do that. But the problem is it's a separate system. It's a web application, right? So I got to take the information from my ERP system, and I got to go over to the web application. I've got to enter it into that and then communicate with my customer, Target in this case, through that web app. Well, you can do that at a certain level. As things become more complicated, as your volume grows, you just can't do that. It's prohibitive. So what you want to use is an add-in to Business Central, for example, that focuses just on EDI. There's a number of these that work right within Business Central. And what's nice about them is there's a couple of things that are important to consider in EDI. One is the relationship with your trading partners. Every trading partner has a different way they want to receive that information, or a mapping. In the EDI add-ins, part of the service that they provide is not only the software and the connection to the EDI network, but they also provide the mappings and maintain the mappings. Now, a lot of people may want to do that, have been doing that themselves, but it's way too much work. It's very specialized. So if you can use an EDI provider that can do the mapping for you, you're way ahead of the game. Then you don't really have to worry about. That's something you don't have to worry about. You can feel assured that as your customers change, as your vendors change the way that they want to connect to you, basis EDI, you don't have to worry about it, because the add-in for the EDI, those products are updating the mappings as they occur, and they're rolling them out to you. So if you have an EDI requirement, whether it's a customer or a vendor, It's important to look at some of your options, and some of the basic options are just getting that add-in for Business Central, because again, it's easy to connect with Business Central, and there's a lot of strong developers who've created a lot of good products for Business Central. So let's look at the next slide. This is a slide from one of the EDI providers for Business Central. And I call them add-ins because they're added right into the code for Business Central. So what you're looking at here is these are EDI documents that are in Business Central. This page is from Business Central. It looks like Business Central because that's what it is, but it has the additional functionality provided by the EDI software provider, and it works right within Business Central. So it'll take the orders in. These are documents. These are incoming documents, right? It'll handle them, go through the mapping process, go through the EDI network, come into Business Central, and then it becomes part of your regular operations. You can just manage those orders as you would any sales order, ship them as you would any sales order, invoice them as you would. But the EDI function then allows you to communicate with your business partner, typically larger corporations, so that you're not getting chargebacks, right? That's one of the main problems with working with large companies like Target, for example. You can send them stuff and they're happy to order stuff from you. They're going to make you enter the EDI information through their web application. But when the products actually show up at their door, a lot of our clients get a lot of chargebacks. For example, you didn't notify us in the right manner, in the right time. The labeling's incorrect. What we see with the EDI products is they really cut down on the number of chargebacks. Some people they're overwhelmed with the number of chargebacks of dealing with some of these larger customers. Having an EDI add-in really almost eliminates a lot of that. So it's something that you definitely want to look at if you're getting pushed from your business partners to go an EDI route. Okay, let's take a look at Power BI. So Power BI is a reporting tool. It's from Microsoft. And Power BI is basically a reporting tool to create dashboards. Right? And the dashboards can include almost any information that you want. You can have dashboards that look at your ERP data and look at your CRM data and look at other system data that you might have from a data warehouse. It can pull it in from a data warehouse or directly from independent systems. So it's pretty versatile in the way that it can get information in. There's a lot of out-of-the-box connectors to get that information. And then once you've got the information connected to Power BI, it's pretty easy to create the dashboards, frankly. There's 4 types of dashboards, or 4 type of elements that I see. I see graphs. I see tree maps. We'll take a look at tree map a little later. And then just lists of information, and then KPIs. I can take those 4 types of elements, put them together on a dashboard, and then I can distribute it to people. That's one of the nice things with Power BI is it's a website maintained by Microsoft. You log into Power BI and you've got access to your Power BI reports, but then you can distribute them too. So you can distribute them to people easily within your organization. And what we're looking at right now, this is a role center from Business Central. And what Microsoft has done with Business Central is they said, well, Power BI is a powerful reporting tool. We want people to be able to access it directly from Business Central. So you have the ability in Business Central to embed Power BI reports right within the role center. So that's what you see here. There's kind of this graphic is interesting in that it takes the Power BI report, which is the 5 items sold by quantity, and expands that out. But you can see behind that it's really part of a role center where I've got a graph that's being generated from Business Central. I've got lists of items, whatever they might be, accounts, purchase orders, or whatever. But it's embedded with Business Central. So let's take a look at the next slide here. So this slide is part of a collection of Power BI reports or dashboards that Armanino has put together. We call it Dynamic Insights. And the value of Dynamics Insights is that it already is connected to Business Central in that it knows the Business Central tables, it knows how to connect to Business Central. And people like it a lot. The package is pretty much ready to go in a number of different areas. We're looking at an inventory report, but there's probably, I think in the inventory area, there's probably more than 15 individual inventory dashboards like this. But we have them for sales, purchasing, financial, and other areas, and they're ready to go. Again, all we do is connect them to your Business Central instance. They're immediately populated with the data that you have in Business Central, and then you can use them like this. And Power BI, if you're not familiar with it, I mentioned there's basically 4 types of elements that I see. One is the KPIs. You see the KPIs at the top, and then we've got graphs in the basically central left side. There are different types of graphs you have, and then there's a tree map in the right hand side, that blocky looking thing. I'm not a big fan of those, but they're there nonetheless. And then there's also basically lists of information, which can be, for example, a list of inventory items. And we'll take a look at one of those a little later on. But here, this is a good way to look at what's available in Power BI. I've got the graphs, the dashboard, but on the right hand side, excuse me, there's a number of filters that you can use to drill down on the information that you want. And the filters can be provided by Business Central in a number of areas. It could be an item filter. It could be an item group filter. It could be a customer filter. It could be a vendor filter. But also in Business Central, the way that data is posted in there in Business Central, I can use dimensions. Dimensions expand beyond just the basic chart of accounts that's used for financial reasons, but I can add additional dimensions to identify information about a customer, a group of customers, an item, a group of items, a specific way items are used. And I can have as many dimensions as I want to in Business Central. And then in Power BI, I can use the filters and look at individual values for a particular dimension. So if I have a dimension, say, for a particular channel that I'm selling into, I'm selling to Amazon. What are all my Amazon orders look like? What does that look like? I can use a dimension to pull out those Amazon orders. I can use it for the channels, like I just give you an example, but I can also use it for customer groups or product groups. So the Power BI reports are nice in that they're attractive, they're easy to look at, it's easy to get information. But the more important thing is that it allows users to drill down and get specific information about things that are of interest to them. And it's easy to use. Typically, what we'll do when we implement Business Insights is we'll install it to connect to your Business Central tenant, and then give you a quick class on, well, this is how you use Power BI, this is how you can use this tool. And what we find is people like it. I mean, it's basically ready to go. I've got a variety of different reports. I can use those just as they are. If I want to expand them, I can expand them, but there's really a lot right there. So let's look at the next report here. This is an example of a list. So on the right-hand side, I've just got a list of inventory items. But this is the type of thing that you can do with Power BI. Is in Business Central, I've got the items like most ERP systems, but I'm also tracking how old those items are. And there are a lot of systems that will track how old an item is, but it's very hard to get that information out because the way it's stored. In Business Central, it's pretty straightforward. I've got an item. When I receive items in, it's kept in a receiving bucket and it's aged. And when I sell something, it's sold out of that bucket based on my inventory valuation method. And I can get to that information. And in Business Central, it's easy. So what I'm seeing here is I see a list on the right-hand side that's showing me the value of that inventory that I've got in the system. It's showing the last time there was a transaction for that and how many days it's been since the last transaction. So from an inventory management standpoint, this gives users the ability to look at their inventory and we start getting some real answers about what's happening in my inventory. I see on my balance sheet, the CFO is telling me, hey, you've got $10 million of inventory. I go, okay, that's nice. What does that mean? Here you can use Power BI and you can drill down to figure out, oh, what do I have in inventory? What's making up that $10 million? Is there stuff that I need to get rid of because it's getting too old? Is there stuff that I'm buying too much of? You can make all those types of decisions based on information you get out of Business Central because it's easily organized in a way to make reporting easy. Then if you use a Power BI overlay like this, the answers just come right out of the system. It's really a very good way to manage your inventory. So let's take a look at the next one here, which is another Power BI report. And this looks like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's not, it's Power BI. And it's looking at inventory, but it's exposing another part of the inventory items in Business Central called variance. So for any item, for example, the first one, there's a bicycle. I can have different colors of bicycles, right? It's the same item number, but I have different colors. Call that an item variant. Now I don't have to come up with a new number, and the system will automatically create a designation for that particular color. You can see this is not only a listing of the inventory by quantities by variant, but also by location, right? So Business Central, like most ERP systems, looking at inventory in multiple locations. But again, Business Central makes it easy to get that information out of the system so I can use it. And then this Power BI overlay to that data makes it even easier. I can take basically a snapshot of this and I can look at a group of different items. I can say, where are they all located? I don't have to go screen by screen by screen to get that. In Power BI, I can step back and take a wide look at where's my inventory. And then again, this particular screenshot does not have the filters on the side, but they're there. I just didn't include them. So you could see the main part of it. So I've got the filters. So if I want to look again by a particular item group, I can do that. I can look at a particular channel. I'll look at that and get the information. It'll be updated automatically for me. So again, it's another way to really analyze what's happening at the from an inventory standpoint in my business. Let's look at the next slide, which is another example of inventory. And this is showing the number of day sales of inventory I have on hand, right? So the CFO comes to me and say, oh, you got way too much inventory. I go, I don't know if I do or not. Let's take a look at it. And you can start looking at this inventory. You can say, yeah, I've got a lot of inventory. I've got a lot of old computers. I got 1,200 days worth of computers to sell. So I need to get rid of those, right? It starts making it easier to analyze the inventory you have and then start making decisions on what do I need to adjust my inventory. And Business Central allows you to collect that data, stores it in a way that makes it easy to retrieve, and then Power BI makes it easy to comprehend that information, not only in the specifics, but I can get a wider view of it. So when I'm looking at managing my totality of inventory, Power BI is a great way to look at it. And I've got the information in Business Central to give me meaningful statistics about how my items are doing in inventory. And I think the last one here is just, this is just a breakdown by lot number. We do business with a lot of biotech companies, and almost all their inventory is controlled by lots. And lots can be a little mysterious. And typically in an ERP system, that lot information can be kind of buried in the data here. And in Business Central, it's buried down there a little bit. But with Power BI, I can bring that out. So I can look at it. In this case, I can look at a particular item and I can see where I've got lots, where are they located, right? This is a type of question that people are asked all the time, especially if I've got a lot of items, I've got a lot of different lots, and I've got multiple locations. But where the heck is that stuff? I need to find this lot because the customer wants it to match the lot that they got 3 months ago. Where do I get it from? This is the type of question that can be answered easily with Business Central and Power BI. All right, so what we've talked about so far is pretty much just basic inventory. And now we're going to expand that a little bit. And this is the kind of the exciting part about inventory in Business Central is within Business Central, there's warehouse management functionality built into the system. From a licensing standpoint, it's licensed with a basic license for Business Central. So I can have a standard inventory system and use it like I would almost any inventory system. And this diagram points out, oh, how I might do that. I'm going to receive stuff in, and I'm going to store it in inventory, and then I'm going to ship it. So those are basically 3 transactions, right? I'm receiving, I'm storing it, and then I'm going to ship it out. The warehouse management functionality, it's built within Business Central. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. If you want to just use a basic inventory, you can use basic inventory, receiving, storing, and then shipping out. But if I want to control that more, if I want to put more control about the transactions, the type of transactions that I'm processing within my warehouse, keep track of my warehouse people, what are they doing? Where are the items stored? How can I pick faster? How can I make sure that when I receive something in, it's going into the right location to make basically my warehousing operation more efficient? A lot of people are turning to warehouse management. So in Business Central, the warehouse management functionality, it works in conjunction with the inventory that we've been talking about, but it adds additional functionality. So there's dedicated warehouse documents created that facilitate the warehouse management process. So for example, if I have a purchase order, in a lot of ERP systems, when I receive that, I have to receive it from the PO. I got to open up the PO and receive it. Okay, well, you can see right away there's maybe a control issue there. So in Business Central, what I can do is from that purchase order, I can create a warehouse receipt, and then the warehouse people will act on the warehouse receipt. They don't see the PO. They just see a warehouse receipt that's on their role center of things I got to do today. I've got to receive this in, and then I can also say have a put away document. It'll tell me exactly where to put it into the warehouse. It'll show me what bin, what aisle to put that item in. So I don't have to worry about the warehouse people put it in the wrong place. I set it up so they'll put it in the right place. The system tells them where to put it. Then on the other hand, when items go out of the warehouse, a lot of ERP systems make you make you log into the sales order and process the sales order to show that I picked this and then I shipped it. If you use the warehouse management functionality within Business Central, you don't have to do that because there are dedicated documents for warehouse management. For example, that I'll have a warehouse pick. It's a separate document. The people in the warehouse, they just see that pick document. They say, I got to pick this stuff. I got to bring it over to the shipping location, the shipping area, or the shipping zone. And then there's another warehouse shipment transaction coming from the sales order, but it's just in the warehouse, right? So the warehouse people don't have to open up the sales order. They don't even really know, well, how much are they charging this guy for this stuff? All they know is I have to get this thing from this bin, bring it over to the shipping zone. The shipping guy will take it, put it on a truck or however it gets shipped out, and they never have to look at the sales order. So if you want that kind of control, it's right there within Business Central. So let's take a look at the next slide here. Again, the warehouse management functionality in Business Central is optional. You don't have to use it. You can just use the basic inventory. And if you decide, well, I want to use a little bit of warehouse management, you're still using the inventory system. This is kind of addition to that functionality. And what you're seeing on the screen here, these are some basic warehouse management transactions that are available to process that. So typically how people use warehouse management system in any system is that they'll have handheld devices so that they can scan barcodes and create the transactions that way. And that's typically what we recommend with Business Central is, use a good handheld device so that you can process those transactions, make it easy on your warehouse guys, and make them more accurate as well. And then on the next screen, these are some of the more advanced transactions that are available. I talked about the warehouse pick. You can have internal movement also. Transactions for internal movement. I'm moving something from a bin in one part of the warehouse to another bin. I can track that as well. So again, these are optional. I don't have to do all this. And in Business Central, and the level of detail that you have to do, or that's required to make things work, is based on the warehouse location. So you may have a warehouse where, hey, I don't really care. I get the stuff in, I want it there, and then I just want to know that it's there. You may have other warehouses that are much more important. There's a lot more volume and there's more chaos there. You say, you know what, we need a lot of control there. I want to use warehouse management functionality in Business Central just for this location because it's kind of crazy. Well, you can do that. You don't have to use it across your whole organization. And another part about the warehouse management that I did want to tell you is that it uses, not only is it part of the basic licensing within Business Central, it's part of the basic code, but it uses the same information. So it uses the same item information from not only the item information, but the quantity, where it's located. So problem typically with using an external warehouse management system, which a lot of people do, is that you're always going to have a sync problem. So the inventory information in your ERP system is going to be different than in your warehouse management system. That's not an issue with Business Central. It's all in one place. It's the same information. So there's no syncing problems, and it's always going to be up to date because it's using the same information. So it's an important thing to consider if you're thinking about, well, I'm interested in warehouse management, right? I can get in at kind of a low level, and then I can go crazy if I want to. And then I don't have to worry about the sync issues because they're significant. They can be significant. All right, let's go to the next. This is not a great diagram, but what I wanted to show you here is kind of a theme in Business Central, is that Business Central collects a lot of data, and it collects a lot of inventory data, where inventory is located, what the status of that inventory is it ready to be picked? Is it not? Is it reserved? So in Business Central, I can reserve quantities of items by items. I can automate some of that if I want to. I can also reserve it by sales orders or customers. So a question that comes up a lot when we talk to distribution clients or even clients, any business that has something that they want to sell to clients usually has a constraint, right? They have less items than they than their customers want, right? It's enviable position, but still it's difficult sometimes to make it all work. So what I can do in Business Central is I can reserve quantities for a particular sales order for a particular customer. I've got a customer saying, hey, I need this on a certain date. If I don't get it from you, I'm going to the next guy. So again, well, we can reserve that for you. And then the system in Business Central, the inventory system within Business Central will honor that reservation and show quantity around that, right? So it will not show the reserved quantity as something that can be picked. And that's why I wanted to show you here in this slide is the ability for Business Central to really qualify the quantities across your entire organization based on location, based on the status of those items, and whether they can be sold or not. So that's an important thing to consider when you're looking at Business Central, is that it has a lot of functionality just built around inventory, its availability of inventory. All right, so let's wrap this up here a little bit. One thing Microsoft is doing with Business Central is they're doing some kind of neat things. They're starting to put artificial intelligence into the system a little bit. They actually have some artificial intelligence that's doing some quick sales planning or sales forecasting. So if I've got a history of selling some items in my Business Central system, it will calculate a forecast for me. I can determine some of the constraints about, well, how much history does it look at? How big are the buckets that it's forecasting? I can even look at different methods of forecasting, different types of algorithms for doing that. That's all baked into Business Central. And they're starting to use that more. So it's not only working there, but it's also, if I look at an item in Business Central and I'm using that forecasting functionality, it'll show me for each item how I'm doing on that forecast. In other words, what am I projected to be selling 6 months from now? What level of inventory do I project that I'll have in that particular item, right? What's that telling me? That's telling me maybe that I need to buy some stuff. So this is one way to look at it. And the information, again, that's being produced by Business Central, on those role centers, you've got interactive dashboards. We look primarily at Power BI because they're very rich, but within Business Central itself, there's dashboards, which is basically the role center. In there, I've got lists of information, could be open purchase orders. We saw the tiles, but there's also graphs that we didn't look at that will give you information about what's happening in your business. You can drill down on those graphs and, again, do further analysis of that and make transactions if I want to on that. So that's all built within Business Central. And there's a lot of reporting that's in Business Central, but we're finding is that some of those other reporting tools that I mentioned at the very first slide, people are gravitating to that because they want better reporting, looking at information outside of their ERP system as well, but also having the ability to forecast, simple sales forecast for the next 2 years, right? I can get that information from Business Central, but if I've got a new product, I've got a new channel I'm going into, I want to be able to calculate that or work with it in a forecasting piece and then pull that into Business Central or pull it in with Business Central data. All right, let's take a look at some simple licensing here. So the licensing for Business Central is easy, right? There's basically three licenses. There's the Central Premium, Central Essentials, and then the Team Members license. So the Essentials is basic stuff. It includes financial management, core financials. It includes some customer relationship management, some CRM functionality. Actually, there's CRM functionality built into BC. It's basically focused on opportunity management, but it can be useful to a lot of clients. And then there's a project management piece or jobs built into that Business Central Essentials. There's a supply chain things that we've been talking about, sales orders, purchase orders, inventory, of course. And then there's also warehouse management is built into that Essentials license. So the premium license, the $100 per user per month, includes everything in Essentials plus service management. It's field service type functionality plus manufacturing. So if I've got manufacturing where I want shop floor control, I want to have routings, I need to go to the premium. In the Essentials, in the inventory management, there is some basic kitting in there. There's assemblies that I can create, but it doesn't get into the routing area. So the Essentials works for a lot of people unless you're going into heavy manufacturing. And the Team Members basically is a read-only license. It has some other functionality where I can create sales quotes, for example. I can edit transactions that are already created in there. I can't create a lot of transactions, but I can edit them. I can create quotes. And then I can also use a team member license to participate in workflows that are generated from Business Central. Business Central comes with a number of workflows, purchase order workflow, for example, new item workflow, for example. A team member can participate in that workflow and approve those if they want. Okay, Teresa, I think it's up to you here.
All right, Steve, thanks for the thorough review. I mean, I think a couple of our takeaways are that We really covered sort of the visibility of where your items are. We covered how to better collaborate with your partners internally and externally, and we talked about how we can use reporting tools to get more information about the items. And then finally, I think the most exciting part is, for me at least, around the integrated warehouse management solution, instead of keeping disparate systems with multiple sources of the truth. So very exciting stuff. I think in the solution, I think next steps for any of you, they're going to be sending out the materials as mentioned earlier following the webinar. If you want more information, you can reach out to, if you've got an Armanino client manager, you can reach out to them. You can also reach out to Steve or myself to discuss any sort of a proof of concept, looking at your data in Business Central, and then just making sure that you're really considering, fast forward, what's my organization look like today and what might it look like in the future as you're making these kinds of decisions. So thank you so much for joining today. Ashley, I'll turn it over to you to close. Ashley?
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. Always trying to find that mute button. So at this point, we are looking to see if there are any additional Q&A questions for Steve and Teresa. Let me see. Teresa, do you see any here?
I do not.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining the webinar today, and I believe that wraps up anything that we may have. Thank you very much for attending. Please remember to complete the survey at the end. And as we mentioned, this will be sent to everybody in the next 72 hours. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining.